How do I describe my school in my diary? Well, I don't know. I have written about it several times. Sometimes when I have a good time at school, it is super. But when I am bored, it is horrible.
Although it is only 8 a.m., Ružica Sutana, with her distinctive teaching style, manages to hold the attention of the first-grade children at Sarajevo's St. Joseph's Catholic School. Ružica has worked at this school since 1996.
There have always been children of various backgrounds in my class. They are not just children from various regions, but also of different nationalities. There was a boy from Mexico, a girl from the USA, another boy from France and a girl from Belgium. Now there are 2 children from Poland, a girl from Greece, along with non-Catholic children. However, I have never had any problems regarding my teaching, the language structures I use, or my relationship with them or their parents.
Catholic schools in Bosnia-Herzegovina have a long tradition. Throughout the Middle Ages, the Franciscans taught locals to read and write in their monasteries. Large libraries were also founded in Franciscan monasteries at Fornica, Sarajevo, and Karlieva Sutjeska. The Franciscans played a significant role in the education of the Catholic population right up to the end of the 19th century. With the establishment of a local church hierarchy, the activities of the Catholic Church in the education field became institutionalized. Encouraged by the Bosnian Archbishop Josip Stadler, the Jesuits opened the first high school in Travnik and successfully educated whole generations of students. Its work was interrupted by the arrival of communism in 1944. Father Pero Pranjic, a canon lawyer and master of the Peter Barbaric Catholic School in Travnik, recalls the problems the school and its students had to face following the communists' arrival.
When the partisans occupied Travnik, they simply forced the Jesuits to leave, took over the building, and destroyed a great deal of its furniture and equipment. The building was then nationalized, and various state high schools opened in it. Thus, from 1944 to 1988, we have had no access, neither to the building nor to the church. The church was not nationalized, remaining the property of the Archbishop's diocese. But the communists said, "It is on our land, and you have no right to enter, and thus you cannot come into the church." The church was used as a gymnasium, and they lectured in the school building. Clearly, they first destroyed everything. There used to be a very rich botanical and coin collection, along with a big library containing almost 100,000 books. Everything was destroyed or taken away.
The 1991 democratic changes revived a sense of hope. However, the outbreak of war in the former Yugoslavia quickly crushed scholastic development. Marina Sarac, today a medical student at the university in Sarajevo, vividly recalls the first days of the war.
I remember that I could not go to school, and that I was very happy for that. I thought that it was going to be great not having to go to school. I also thought that the war was not going to last very long. However, the war lasted for a long time, and when I finished high school and enrolled at the university, it was still going on.
Conflict and flight of Catholic families from Bosnia spurred the Bishop of Sarajevo, Pero Sudar, to propose an interdenominational Schools for Europe project.
Democratic changes in Bosnia and Herzegovina had taken place in a peaceful way. We would have spontaneously come to understand that Catholic schools are needed in Bosnia and Herzegovina. However, the war has almost hastened the process of understanding that they are of vital importance for our country, especially when it has become obvious that divisions and intolerance have entered all segments of human life, including education. Intolerance shown to people of different nationalities or religion led many families to the decision that they had to leave. I realized that we had no right to ask people to stay if we were not ready to do at least what was possible to provide opportunities for their children to attend schools in which they would not feel discriminated or humiliated.
The insanity of war in the besieged city of Sarajevo led to the suffering of many children. 3,500 died and 11,000 were wounded. Left to themselves without water, food, medicine or fuel, exposed to the constant danger of mortar and sniper fire, the inhabitants of Sarajevo did not want to accept that their children might be denied a future through a lack of education facilities. In its desire to oppose this destruction, the Church sought to offer all parents a sign of hope and help, and so it opened a Catholic Church school.
While the shells were still falling, and while some people were taking away parts of our school building to use them to repair the damage to their houses, we found a company whose workers dared to climb on the roof to fix it. Despite repair, the roof was damaged time and again. It was also very brave of parents to allow pupils to come into a classroom where they could be wounded.
It would have been even worse if the school had been closed. What would we do? Gather water and run away from the shells? I used to walk to school every day. Since my house was quite far away from school, it was a 7-8 kilometer walk in one direction and then the same back home.
We were obliged by law to invite parents to come to a meeting at the school. We invited 20 parents just to fulfill the legal requirement. When I came to the school for this meeting, it was not possible to enter. I asked the nun who was there why she had not opened the big hall. She said, "It is open, but it is packed." 800 parents came to this first meeting. They came to give a sign opposing the destruction and the prevailing opinion that nothing was possible, not even mere survival.
Amongst the multitude of parents who came to the Catholic school on that day was Irfan's and Naida's father, Sakib Kaduz.
Many of our friends suggested to my wife and I that we had effectively put our children on the front line. We were aware of that responsibility and the risk that their going to school and back home implied.
The lessons were normal. They were of the same quality and all subjects were taught. We had breaks, even a lunch break. We also had year-end examinations. There was no electricity, so we typed our graduation essays on mechanical typewriters. We did our best. There was also a celebration organised at school. We had a hard time to get to it and an even worse time to return home, since there was a lot of shooting in Sarajevo that day. The headmaster paid for a taxi to take us home. The possibility of having any kind of school ball or party was not even considered due to the danger of travelling. I am one of the first generations to have graduated from this high school. This is my class photo, this is me, this is Nina, she was sitting next to me, this is Anita, my best friend. She was the best in mathematics. Daniel was the most likeable in my class, but also all the others were likeable and very good friends.
Although the school opened in the besieged Sarajevo with the intention of teaching only Croatian children, it in fact welcomed all children, regardless of nationality or creed. The idea of the Schools for Europe project rests on a belief that there is only one way of breaking the vicious cycle of hate that has plagued Bosnia-Herzegovina. The young must be raised in an atmosphere of dialogue, tolerance, ecumenism and forgiveness. Only then will there be a chance that wounds suffered by so many generations can begin to heal. The directors of the Catholic school are convinced that the most important source of values that the people of Bosnia-Herzegovina possess can be found in the variety and richness of their cultural and religious heritage. To this end, they strive their utmost to ensure that children of other nationalities and beliefs attending the school are made to feel at home.
We want
the students who attend our school to feel that we respect who they are and that under the given circumstances we want to help them grow in their faith and nourish it. Thus, we have tried to organize religious lessons for the students of the Islamic faith at school. We have put one of our classrooms at their disposal to arrange it in the way they want, and to place inside it whatever they need. It was a kind of classroom for the Islamic religious lessons.
Not all welcomed the opening of a Catholic school with enthusiasm. Scare tactics towards parents, physical attacks on pupils, are part of everyday living. Newspapers openly accuse the Catholic Church of indoctrination. Even explosive devices have been placed in front of the school building. Despite high rewards offered by the Department of Internal Affairs, no one has ever been caught or accused.
The government responded as it usually does. This was a positive chance for them to generously state, "We give you permission to open the Catholic school in Sarajevo." Is this not proof that we respect all your rights, all your freedoms, and that we actually support you? And so on. The government needed to show such an attitude to the international institutions. This was supposed to serve as an example of how open they were. On the other hand, the opinion, "Yes, this is a positive move for us, but we still prefer that it does not exist," was felt everywhere. We know that there are certain messages sent to the government stating that there is no need to have Catholic, Muslim or Orthodox schools here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We consider this variety a treasure of this country. We think that we give additional quality, or at least that we are a kind of competition to the state schools, which we consider a good thing.
After Sarajevo, the Catholic Church opened similar schools in Tuzla, Zepče, Travnik, Zenica and Konjic. Due to a lack of money, the Archdiocese of Sarajevo has sought assistance from a number of international Catholic aid organizations. One such charity, Aid to the Church in Need, has understood the importance of this initiative to Bosnian Catholics and continues to support this school building project.
The Catholic schools in Bosnia are very important, primarily as a guarantee of a quality education. In the Catholic schools, the children are brought up with a view to tolerance and reconciliation with other religions. For this country, this is particularly important due to the ever greater Islamic influx and influence of Islam in daily life. For refugees, the schools are equally important, as they provide a motivation for them to return to their homes and to start anew.
The library is Anna Egvetta's favourite room at school. The school helps prepare her and other students to face future education challenges.
While we were attending the state school in the city, we were not disciplined, so we did not learn much. When we moved to this school, we started to watch our manners and learn. They treat us as individual human beings, not as things.
The Schools for Europe project is a priority for the Catholic Church in Bosnia-Herzegovina. The results achieved with the young so far have indication enough. However, whether deliberately or not, government departments continue to make the work difficult, especially regarding the return of church property nationalized by the communists after World War II.
Unfortunately, I must say that in the municipality of Travnik, the Croats and Bosnians are not treated equally. Whenever we have requested a building returned, we always emphasize that the property of the Islamic community, confiscated by the communists, has already been returned. We even have official documents issued by the local authorities in Travnik confirming this. We thought, since they have returned property to the Islamic community, they will return ours too. We have asked several times, but we have never received a straight answer, only excuses and explanations. Finally, we had no choice but to appeal to the Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, which has an office in Sarajevo. We enclosed the documentation explaining that the municipality has treated correctly just one community, the Islamic one. The municipality returned their property without waiting for any denationalization law to be passed. They returned it as a sign of goodwill. How can it happen that one religious community can get everything while the other is deprived of its basic rights? Now we wait for the court to realize the religious discrimination is present in Travnik. We simply want our property returned to us. We do not want it for any other purpose but for the establishment of quality schools with all the programs that need to exist in a European school.
Travnik, like all of Bosnia-Herzegovina, is faced with the problem of a large number of war refugees refusing to return to their homes. Apart from being unable to rebuild their homes or find employment, a further condition stipulated by the refugees before agreeing to return relates to an assurance that their children will be educated in their mother tongue.
If this school did not exist, half of the inhabitants would not return to Travnik. When they hear only of the problems they face, they lose any desire to come back. The fact that there is a good European school here has motivated many of them to return. Our only difficulty is the limited number of pupils we can accept. When they come and find that there is no place for their children, they are desperate. They start to think, how is it possible? I've returned thinking that mine will receive me, but they say there is no place.
Vedran Starcevic, a grade 8 high school student in Travnik, looks to his future with optimism.
I think that teachers in this school know their job because they're doing it so well. They try to transfer their knowledge to us. I think that the knowledge I obtained here will help me to enroll at the university. I think that this school is one of the most esteemed in Bosnia and Herzegovina, so that I will have no problem to enter the university.
Croatian is the language of instruction at all Catholic schools. However, students are allowed to use their native language during exams and can request that their high school diploma be issued in Croatian. English lessons start in the first grade of primary school. After 4 years, students may choose between French and German. Great attention is also paid to IT lessons, already made available at primary school level. The diplomas that students receive at the end of their education are not only recognized in Bosnia-Herzegovina, but throughout Europe.
Ja osobno nisam prihvatio uvjerenje I razmišljanje.
There was an idea to transfer and use here school programs from the Republic of Croatia. However, It is not justified for many reasons, so I did not accept it. I also said in public that we would not accept the standard federal education curriculum. Therefore, we are at the beginning. Every year we organize 7-day seminars for all our employees. In the first 3 seminars, we have prepared our own programs to fit the kind of students for which our schools are meant, and the majority in them. We have also not forgotten our students who are not Croatians.
Years of experience gained from being with young people has helped Catholic school headmaster Don Ante Meštrović recognize yet another important dimension to this project.
Along with the efforts to help the children achieve sufficient educational knowledge, we work hard on their manners and culture. It is necessary, especially after the war, when so much has been broken and destroyed deep in the hearts and souls. We need to rebuild trust and to emphasize positive values. In this way, we actually heal the society and eliminate the negative things imposed by the war. Many parents appreciate this, and for this reason, they want their children to be the students of the Catholic school.
Horrific was the loss of life and material destruction suffered by the church during the war. 2/3 of church facilities were completely destroyed. In the Vrbosna Archdiocese alone, 62 parishes were brought to ruin and 350,000 parishioners exiled. Despite the fervent desire of both priests and faithful for reconstruction, lack of money not only hinders any progress, including the desire of families to return to their native towns, but even more crucially hinders to motivate the young to stay. For the school to fulfill the enormous expectations that have been rekindled amongst teachers, parents and children demands a commitment of resources that is dependable and lasting. For the Church of Bosnia-Herzegovina, the burden is too heavy to carry alone. It is with the Universal Church that lie the hopes of so many for progress and reconciliation.
Mi od institucija međunarodnih koji su u Bosni.
The international institutions, especially the European Union, have not given us even one single cent. Although there was goodwill on the side of one delegation authorized to make a decision, it seems that the local government stopped it. Because, I repeat, they do not like the fact that we are not assimilating here, as is recommended, but nourishing and emphasizing specific qualities. These specific qualities are conditions of a harmonious life together.
The Catholic schools in Bosnia, the so-called European schools, where the quality of the education is standardized with that of Europe, are a bridge to Europe. After the war, the people were full of fear, mistrust, and spiritually wounded, and stood before a destroyed country. The Catholic Church, through the foundation of these schools, has given the young people of tomorrow a new perspective.
Schools for Europe provide an opportunity for the young to prepare for the future. Europe needs educated young people, but above all, Europe needs young people who, in a spirit of openness, are tolerant and understanding of others, regardless of cultural, national or religious identity.
The Catholic school is one of the guarantees that Sarajevo can retain its multi-ethnic nature, such as I experienced when I moved to it as a young man 30 years ago. I am positive that my children, once they become adults, will be bearers of this idea of unity and the multi-ethnic nature of this city. This was my goal when I decided to enroll my children to a Catholic school.
Donošenja odluke za upis svoje djece u katolički školski centar.
Želimo biti jedan primjer.
We want to give an example that even in the times of crisis, and our times are almost permanently times of crisis, nobody, and especially not the Church, is allowed to remain with words alone. The words must be accompanied by deeds. Our desire is to help people understand that this is their homeland and that they cannot find another one somewhere else. We are always obliged to our homeland. As we are obliged to protect it in war, thus we are obliged to protect it in peace, not with weapons, but with hard work, love, and faithfulness. However, Bosnia and Herzegovina is not a homeland only of the Croatian people. Because of this, we must look for ways to offer a future to everyone. Our desire is to show that with these schools, this is possible and necessary.
I da je to nužno.